Here we go. Turn on the radio.
Bluetooth mode.
Right here.
Crux Bluetooth connected.
And we're connected. What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Hopefully everybody out there is doing good and staying safe. For this video, I wanted to cover a mod that I did a long time ago, probably right when I bought the Land Cruiser. This was obviously before YouTube and me uploading videos online, but I use this mod every single time I'm in the Land Cruiser. I thought I had to cover and share with you guys. So obviously, because it's already in the Land Cruiser, I'm gonna have to rip everything back out, take the mod apart, and then show you guys how to reinstall that mod. Now, it is quite a bit of work. However, I think it's gonna be so beneficial to the 100 series crowd that it definitely is worth doing. And since I've had this device in my car for the last 5 to 6 years, at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you a full review on how I like it, how I don't like it, what could be better, what could be worse. So make sure you stick around. Before we get started, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. And for more Land Cruiser and Overland content, don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's get started. First of all, to get to your radio, you will have to take off your trim. Now, for this, if you've seen my previous videos, I usually like to use these guys, these little plastic prying tools. That way the trim or the dash does not get scuffed up. And I've actually used them a lot more than I thought I would. So, you know, definitely recommend something like this. If you don't, maybe like a soft butter knife. You know, if you wrap it with some electrical tape, that would work. But if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description down below to where you can check these guys out. So let's get to it. This guy, you're gonna pry wherever you can get this thing into, basically, and just pop out the whole trim. There we go. Now, with the trim out, you will have a few plugs back here that go to the AC control, the clock, and all that stuff. You will want to unhook these guys. It's just a little tab. You basically press down and wiggle them out. Like that. There's 4 of them. Don't worry about getting them mixed up. They actually, all 4 of them are different, so they will only go in one way. There we go. And the whole trim, including the AC unit, is now out. Let's put this guy aside. Next up, you're going to get your screwdriver, Phillips, and just take out these 4 Phillips screws. On the Land Cruiser, this is actually super easy to do. There's seems to be plenty of space, and everything is easily accessible. So now, with all 4 screws removed, the head unit should be able to slide out. So you want to be careful. Take it out like this. And we've got some plugs on the back. So let's unplug these guys. And there is your head unit. So the part that we're going to be installing today is this little Bluetooth box right here. From what I know, it's called the Crux Bluetooth unit or device or something. I guess it's made by the CB line guy. But as you can see, it's just a little plastic box. You've got your USB, LED, and auxiliary in back here. And then there is a plug that goes into your factory head unit. So very, very simple to install, not very difficult at all. So on the back of this guy, you'll notice this is the TY1 model. It says 98 to 2011 Toyota vehicles. However, the year is actually wrong for Land Cruisers. So for Land Cruisers, this one would work for 98 to 2002, I believe, and then 2003 to 2007 would get a different box. Either way, I'll leave both of these boxes in the description down below, so make sure you go ahead and check that out. So this is the factory radio for my 1999 Land Cruiser. Yours might be a little bit different depending on the year, but once you get this guy out, you want to flip it around, and you'll notice when you unhooked a bunch of plugs earlier, the middle one is the factory Toyota one, which is, it gets its power, lights, speakers, and all that stuff. You've got the two antennas on the side, and then the one on the left right here is going to be for your CD changer. Now, if you have a CD changer that is in your Land Cruiser installed, you're not going to be able to use that anymore. This guy, your CD changer will have to be unplugged, and then you've got your Bluetooth device. It plugs in perfectly. So instead of the CD changer, you're going to be using the Bluetooth device now. Next, I'll show you where I ran this long wire and where I hid this box behind the radio. So now with the radio out, you'll see this harness, which is for the climate control, the clock, the power antenna, and all that stuff. You've also got this one, which is the back of the radio. You've also got these two guys, which is for the antenna. And if you had a CD changer option in your Land Cruiser or LX470, you would have another plug that goes right here somewhere. Obviously on this one, I don't, so I do not have that plug. So now I'm gonna run the wire and hide this box somewhere back here. Now you notice back here, there's not too much space. I mean, like, there is enough space for the head unit, but if I try to put it back here, put this box back here, it will hit. There just isn't enough room for the box and the head unit to coexist right here. So where I ended up putting this guy was down here. So what you want to do is kind of just like feel for it, wiggle this guy down here, because there's actually nothing down here. Like below this, there is nothing. You can either just squeeze it in right there, or if it drops all the way down, that's fine too. But if you put it in the center, kind of where I have it right now, it actually sits on top of the cigarette lighter on the bottom of the console. So that's actually a pretty good space that I had it before. I think I'm going to keep it there for this install as well. Now, next thing, as far as the wire goes, you can just actually just plug it in into the back as it is right now. However, I like to have things a little bit cleaner. So instead of just having so much wire dangle around, I wrapped it around the back of this metal beam for the dash, and come up where the rest of the harness comes in. So let me see if I can do that again without destroying my hands. Feed the wire through here, through the back. Push the harness down a little bit so you can get around it. And it's just like, a little bit of patience. And you should be able to get the plug all the way through. Now that the plug is through, it will always be up top with the other harness, so it won't dangle around too much. If you want to zip tie it, that's fine, not really necessary. Right now, the harness is kind of like at the same length where the factory harness is, so it won't have too much slack to dangle around. Plus, by putting the wire behind the bar for the dash, it won't get pinched by the head unit itself, so it's kind of beneficial if you do it like that. Next up, let's put in the radio. So as far as the radio goes, you're gonna have 4 things to plug in now. You've got your Bluetooth box, obviously. You've got the regular harness, and you've got 2 little antennas. So make sure you plug all 4 in. and you should be good to go. So let's give it a shot. Let's do the antennas first. The antennas are slightly different. There's a skinnier one and a fatter one, so make sure you plug it in accordingly. The fat one goes on the outside, the skinnier one goes towards the inside of the radio. Make sure they click in like that. Next up, we've got the actual harness for the radio itself. That plugs back in like that. And then we have the Bluetooth harness. So make sure the tab is up, I guess facing up like this. Plug it in. There we go. Now you should be able to put the radio back in its factory location without issue. And then before we screw everything back in, plug in all the AC units and all that stuff, we definitely want to test if this guy works. So what you want to do is grab your key, first click. Obviously your radio is going to come on. Now it's just static because I haven't adjusted the radio at all yet. So what you want to do is hit CD and go to your CD changer. Now, because I don't have a CD in the head unit itself, it automatically went to the CD changer. And then you want to go to the settings in your phone and go to Bluetooth. Now, because I already connected this prior, it already says connected, so we know that it's working. But if you haven't connected this before, like if it's a first time install, it should be down here in other devices. All you gotta do is click on it and it will connect. So next up, let's give it a shot. Go to your music. And there we go. We've got Bluetooth. Easy as that. Now, after you've tested everything, it's just a matter of putting all the stuff back. So we're gonna start off with these 4 screws. Screw them back in. Now, a quick tip to screwing these guys in, you actually want to screw in these guys maybe about 3/4 of the way. Don't tighten them down until you get all 4 of these guys threaded in, because if you tighten one down and this one is a little bit at an angle, there's a possibility you might strip the threads on the back of your dash, and after you strip them, there's no going back. You'll have a loose radio forever. This guy has a little ground right here. This is actually aftermarket for my CB radio or for something. I forget what it was for, but you guys won't have that. It will just be the plugs and the 4 screws. Next up, we've got this trim piece to put back in. So before you snap it in place, you want to make sure you plug in the 4 harnesses, which are on the back. This guy, obviously, like I said before, all 4 of these plugs are different, so there's no way that you can mix them up. But just in case you forget which is which, you can see the order that I'm plugging them in. That is the proper way, at least for a 99. You've got a gray, a black, a gray, and then this is a faded white color. After those guys are plugged in, you want to flip it back over and gently put your trim piece back in. And if you installed the radio correctly to where nothing is hitting, everything is nice and snug, the trim piece will go in just like that. Very, very easy, with no problems. And now, on with the review. So for the past 5 or 6 years or so, I have been using this Bluetooth device, and I'm happy to say that it's worked pretty much flawlessly. First off, it connects really fast. As soon as you put in your key, it lets you know the Bluetooth device is on, and within 5 or 6 seconds, it lets you know it's already connected to your phone. As far as connectivity wise goes, I have so far been successful to connect 2 phones to this device. Now, even though I can connect 2 phones, it's only one at a time, meaning whoever was connected to the Bluetooth device last, that's the one that the Bluetooth will connect to. And also from what I've experienced, there has been no random disconnects. So if your Bluetooth device is connected to your phone, it doesn't randomly disconnect and reconnect for whatever reason. Let's talk about sound quality. Now, I'm not a car audio enthusiast, so I can't tell like the tiniest little differences. However, I am glad to report that the Bluetooth device does have good sound quality. Now, how can I put this? It is comparable to, I would say, like a CD, or if you have your phone connected to headphones directly like that, the sound quality is really, really good. Now let's go over the negatives. First thing you might have noticed already, one of the negatives is the box itself. The box itself is actually quite big in size. Now luckily, because we have a 100 series, there's tons of room to put the box. However, even though you hide the box behind the dash, you can't really get to the USB port, the auxiliary in port, or the LED light in the back where it sees the status. Luckily, you really don't need any of that, but I'm just saying it's a little annoying where you can't get to those ports if you needed to. Another thing that you kind of expect to have by now, but it doesn't, is phone capability. So there is no phone capability with this Bluetooth device. It's strictly for just music. There's no port where you can plug in a microphone or anything like that. I think on the later model ones it might be integrated, I'm not sure, but as far as the early model Land Cruisers, it does not. So lastly, I want to talk about controls. Now, on some Bluetooth devices that I've had before in the E46 or the RX-7 or whatever, you can actually control the Bluetooth. Like, let's say you want to skip a song, you can control it on the head unit itself if you hit skip. Unfortunately, on this guy, regardless if you hit skip or back or whatever, you can't control the song that's playing. You physically have to go to the phone and hit next song. Not really a big deal, but it is a slight inconvenience. Luckily, that's pretty much it as far as negatives go for the Crux Bluetooth device. Even with these three things, I still would recommend, if you wanted to keep your stock radio look, or actually for the later model guys, you have to keep it. I would definitely recommend the Bluetooth. So that's it for the Land Cruiser Bluetooth, I guess, reinstall. Now, these Bluetooth devices also work with other Toyota vehicles, such as like if you had a similar year Sequoia, or if you had a Tundra, or maybe even a Corolla. So make sure you check the listing to see which one fits your car. Again, I'm gonna have two links in the description down below, one for the early model Land Cruisers and one for the later models. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button. And for more Land Cruiser and Overland content, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.